Abarera Legos Ram Ori Banish C10 Demonio Dinaja 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 Abarera.
Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to Satan and Coffee, Sunday Black Mass. It is good to see you. Always we begin. Hail Satan, hail Lilith, hail Lucifer, hail Paimon, hail Baphomet, hail thyself. We reject the Trinity, we reject the baptism of John, and we reject the baptism of the Spirit. Welcome, everyone. It's good to see you. So I hope you all have had a wonderful week. Let me turn up my volume here a little bit. It's a little low. We're not even hitting yellow. There we go. So I hope everyone has had a wonderful week, a wonderful weekend, and it is good to see everyone. So today we are going to be discussing indulgence, not compulsion, and the importance of the difference and how it applies to the left-hand path, lifestyle, and spirituality. So let us begin reading, shall we? Indulgence, not compulsion. The highest plateau of human development is the awareness of flesh. Excuse me. Satanism encourages its followers to indulge in their natural desires. Only by so doing can you be a completely satisfied person with no frustrations, which can be harmful to yourself and others around you. Therefore, the most simplified description of the satanic belief is indulgence instead of abstinence. People often mistake compulsion or indulgence, but there's a world of difference between the two. A compulsion is never created by indulging, but by not being able to indulge. By making something taboo, it only serves to intensify the desire. Everyone likes to do things they have been told not to. Forbidden fruits are the sweetest. To Pondering Pagans, welcome. I bless you. Thank you. It is appreciated. Webster's Encyclopedic Dictionary defines indulgence thusly: to give oneself up to, not to restrain or oppose, to give free course to gratify by compliance, to yield to. Dictionary definition of compulsion is the act of compelling or driving by force, physical or moral, constraint of the will, compulsory, obligatory. In other words, indulgence implies choice, whereas compulsion indicates the lack of choice. Lady Tessa, thank you very much for the super chat. I greatly appreciate it. £6 and 66 pence. Thank you. So, this is an important thing to look at because a lot of people believe that us on the left-hand path in general, as pagans, as occultists, as demonolatrists, as Satanists, that we do not believe in limits. We do not believe, we believe that anything is okay, that we have no moral standing, right? That we do whatever it is that we wish, when we wish to do it, however we wish to do it. And that simply just isn't true. Because one of the issues that has been taken with this section of the Satanic Bible was that indulgence helps someone, avoid compulsion. Meaning, when you allow yourself to indulge in certain things that you find satisfying to you, that you're able to break the compulsion to do it or to do other things. And obviously, the Christian right, as they always do, turned it on its head and said, oh, so basically it's saying it's okay to murder, it's okay to do this, it's okay to do that. And that simply is not true at all. The Satanic Bible itself, as we will get into later, does discuss this misinterpretation, this misunderstanding of left-hand path philosophy. It is understanding that you need certain things in your life. We have, as human beings, we have needs. We have needs that need to be met, right? As individuals. And when they're not met, it creates a level of frustration in our lives. It creates a lack of focus. It makes it so we're unable to do the things that we need to do in order to survive in this life. So don't be afraid to indulge a little bit and be responsible. Again, it's personal accountability. It's personal responsibility. Indulgence does not imply gluttony, right? Indulgence does not imply that we are doing something, right, until we can't do it anymore. It's to say that if you enjoy a certain thing, a certain activity, let's do something simple, playing video games, right? So many people believe that as you get older, you should stop playing video games. You can't play video games anymore. But if you enjoy playing video games, there's nothing wrong with playing video games and indulging in playing video games for a couple hours, on the weekend, or an hour or so, a half an hour at night, or something like that, so long as it doesn't affect your day-to-day life. But if it does get to the point of affecting your day-to-day life, who is responsible for that? Is it the video game for being addictive that is the problem, or you for being the addicted? I would say for you being the addicted. If you enjoy drinking, you enjoy a good stiff glass of whiskey in the evening to relax yourself before bed, there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine. But if the drinking reaches the point of alcoholism and you lose your job and your family and your house because you can't pay for it, and you end up, in a halfway house or on the street even, who's responsible for that? Is the alcohol responsible for it, for being addictive for you? Or are you for allowing it to control you? So the biggest thing that we learn in the left-hand path is that we have the power to control these things. Now, sometimes we need help. Sometimes, addiction is a thing, and addiction is a horrible disease that people suffer. I'm not taking that away. I completely understand that suffering, that fear of necessity, of something external to yourself. But in the left-hand path, what we learn is that we ultimately have control over our choices and our decisions. Regardless of how clear that decision or that choice is, we have control over our choices. We have control over ourselves. If you realize in a moment of clarity that you need help to stop doing what it is that you're doing, then go seek help. And if you don't, then that is a choice with consequences that you are making. And make no mistake of it, it is your choice. There's no gun to your head forcing you to make a decision. You are responsible for that choice to continue down that path or not go down that path. Hello, Pete from New Zealand. Good to see you. Bjorn, good to see you. And one of the biggest tropes that you're going to see continually repeating in the mass is this fact that everything is based on our choices. Everything is based on our decisions. You have the power, and this is the biggest thing. That this book, this philosophy, this lifestyle, this belief, yes, we reach out to entities beyond ourselves. Yes, we go into ritual. Yes, we work in spells. Yes, we do all of this. But we understand one key factor that many other faiths have lost and forgotten. That it is not God that gives you the strength to move forward. It is not Baphomet that gives you strength to move forward. It is you that gives you strength to move forward within the confines of your own life. The things that you find important to you should be the motivation enough for you to do and make decisions that are good for you and those around you. Now, there are no good or bad decisions. You are not morally inept if you make a decision that is bad for people around you, but in the moment feel okay for you. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you an evil person. It just makes you human. We have all made choices that have ended up hurting someone else in the end, whether intentionally or unintentionally. That does not make you morally vile. That makes you human. People have made decisions that have hurt us. We have made decisions that hurt other people. We have made decisions that hurt ourselves, and we have witnessed people make decisions that hurt themselves. And it is through this understanding that we are merely human, that we are imperfect, that we will be hurt and we will hurt, where we understand that when we want to avoid those situations, if we don't want to hurt someone, if we don't want to hurt ourselves, then we make conscious decisions, calculated decisions and choices that improve our overall well-being. Now, a Christian would say that those are moral choices through God. God and Jesus direct moral decision. The devil directs immorality. The devil directs decisions that cause harm. This is a fallacy. This is a lie. This is designed to make you believe, or make you feel rather, guilty about making a decision that perhaps hurt yourself or hurt somebody else. Because by making that decision, they want you to believe that you have aligned with evil, that you are an immoral individual, that you are an animal, that you are a beast, because you made this decision and it hurt everyone involved. That this decision, that this choice that you have made makes you a bad person because you aligned with what the devil wants of you. Well, my friends, I am here to tell you that the devil does not want you to make good or bad decisions. The devil wants you to be you, wants you to understand that you are imperfect, wants you to understand that you are just human, and wants you to understand that in this life, while you're alive and still breathing, you are going to make choices that are going to have positive consequences and choices that are going to have negative consequences. It is the consequence that aligns us to believe that that choice or that decision was right or wrong, good or bad. There are no good choices and there are no bad choices. There are just choices and consequences. And sometimes we get what we want as a consequence, and sometimes what we get is a learning experience. And this is one of the primary things that we need to begin to change. Instead of saying, I made a bad choice, say, I chose a learning experience. That is the first thing that needs to change in our minds as we move forward in this life, is to understand that when we make decisions and when we make choices that have consequences that we are not a fan of, We didn't make the wrong choice. We chose a learning experience. And it is because of that learning experience that we are going to be able to receive preferred consequence in the future. The Christian wants you to morally analyze every situation that you're in to the point of insanity, to take into account every single individual that may or may not be affected in the ripple of your choices. And then inside that ripple, if one person is negatively affected, they want you to believe that that is a choice that you should not make. I'm here to tell you that that is wrong. That ties your hands behind your back and your legs together. And then they ask you to run. Where are you going to go? Anywhere other than face first into the dirt. If you follow the high throne of Christian morality. To them themselves, do not follow. That they themselves do not respect. That they themselves are happy to condemn and damn everyone in their vicinity for simply making a different choice than they did. So, when we compare indulgence to compulsion, we are free to indulge in the things that we wish. And inside of those choices, we are responsible for the consequences. And those consequences are either in your favor or not. It doesn't mean that your indulgence was a bad decision. It just means that you created a learning experience for yourself where you can have a broader understanding of your actions and how they affect yourself and those around you. But at the end of the day, the person that has the power to make any and all decisions is you. Never examined their lives closely enough to make choices other than the engineered fear response. This is true. This is true. And this is one big thing that is extremely important about the left-hand path here, is that we are building ourselves in such a way, morally, spiritually, physically, on the day-to-day, to be able to look at our decisions and our choices in the short term and the long term, make an educated decision, and then accept the consequences. Whether the consequences are in our favor or against us, we must accept the consequences of our actions, because that is the accountability. This is the biggest thing that the left-hand path teaches us. This is the biggest thing that must be learned about the left-hand path, is the accountability of your actions. And this is a difficult conversation for many people to have. This is a difficult conversation for anyone to talk about, because this requires a lot of shadow work. The shadow work is necessary. Why is the shadow work necessary? The shadow work is necessary because in order for you to accept fault, you need to understand that you can make a mistake. And it doesn't make you any less of a person for making a mistake and admitting that mistake. It makes you a better person to be able to identify, hey, I fucked up, but I own it. And I'm going to learn from this and I'm going to move forward. That makes you the bigger person. And it also allows us the ability to call others out when they refuse to accept their own mistakes. And this isn't in such a way that we are attacking someone. But sometimes people need a little coasting. And inside the community, we should be willing to assist in that. And pull someone to the side and say, hey, I think that was quite right. This is why. You don't have to, but I believe that in the community, I believe that that is something that is absolutely necessary. to give someone a safe place to accept their fault, to accept their mistakes, and then to grow from them. Not necessary, but we all have to start somewhere. Let's continue. When a person has no proper release for his desires, they rapidly build up and become compulsions. If everyone had a particular time and place for the purpose, periodically indulging in their personal desires, without fear of embarrassment or reproach, they would be sufficiently released to lead unfrustrated lives in the everyday world. They would be free to plunge headlong into whatever undertaking they might choose instead of going about their duties half-heartedly, their creative urges frustrated by denying their natural desires. This would apply in the majority of cases, but there will always be those who work better under pressure. Generally, those who need to endure a certain amount of hardship to produce to their full capabilities are in basically artistic vocations. More will be said later about fulfillment through self-denial. This does not mean to imply that all artists fit into this category. On the contrary, many artists are unable to produce unless their basic animal needs have been satisfied. For the most part, it is not the artist or individualist, but the average middle-class working man or woman who is lacking the proper release for their desires. It is ironic that the responsible, respectable person, the one who pays society's bills, should be the one given the least in return. It is he who must be ever conscious of his moral obligations and who is condemned for normally indulging in his natural desires. The satanic religion considers this a gross injustice. He who upholds his responsibilities should be more entitled to the pleasures of his choice without censure from the society he serves. Finally, a religion, Satanism, has been formed which commends and rewards those who support the society in which they live, instead of denouncing them for their human needs. From every set of principles, be it religious, political, or philosophical, some good can be extracted. Amidst the madness of the Hitlerian concept, Hitlerian, I've missed that L, concept, one point stands out as a shining example of this: strength through joy. Hitler was no fool when he offered the German people happiness on a personal level to ensure their loyalty to him and peak efficiency from them. It has been clearly established that the majority of all illnesses are of psychosomatic nature, and that psychosomatic illnesses are a direct result of frustration. It has been said that the good die young. The good, by Christian standards, do die young. It is the frustration of our natural instincts which leads to the premature deterioration of our minds and bodies. It has become very fashionable to concentrate on the betterment of the mind and spirit, and to consider giving pleasure to one's body, then very shell without which the mind and spirit could not exist, to be coarse, crude, or unrefined. As of late, most people who deem themselves emancipated have left normalcy only to transcend into idiocy. By way of bending their behinds around to meet their navels, subsisting on wild and exotic diets like brown rice and tea, they feel they will arrive at the great state of spiritual development. And so, this is another thing that is extremely important here about the left hand path. And I believe many, in this particular case, there are many spiritual paths that may follow this. But I believe that the left hand path certainly pushes this idea much harder in most cases. You, as a creature, as a spiritual being, you are not just spiritual, you are not just psychological, you are also physical. There are three aspects that need to be catered to here simultaneously in our lives. And here we're talking mind, your body, and your spirit. And I'm sure most of you have probably heard this saying, and there's a reason it's said in that order: mind, body, spirit. I'm sure many of you have heard that in that order. And there is a reason for that. Why is the mind first? Let's begin there. Well, when the mind is right, the body follows suit. You've heard the phrase mind over matter, right? When something is getting to you and bothering you, it is the mind that can break you free of those chains, right? So the struggle to free yourself from restraint does not become the very shackles that you are tied to. So we take care of our mind, our mental health, our mental well-being. So we're able to think correctly. So we're able to make calculated decisions. So we're able to be present psychologically in the moment of what is happening in our lives. Body. When the mind is right, we're very easily able to take care of the body. If you are in a mental health funk, it's very difficult to go to the gym. So for some people, going to the gym, it might help. But for many of us, it's difficult to just get out of bed, let alone go to the gym when we're in a mental health funk. Take care of the mind, the body follows suit. When the mind is right and the mind is clear, it's easy to wake up early in the morning. It's easy to go to the gym. It's easy to get that workout in. It's easy to eat right, to make better decisions when we're eating, to take care of the temple that we live in. It's much easier to do that when the mind is right. And when the mind and the body are working in tandem, and both are on the same level, we can begin to work on the spirit, the spiritual path. Because yes, we are spiritual beings, but the left-hand path understands that we are physical beings first, with a conscious mind that lives here on planet Earth. And prior to taking care of our spiritual well-being, our human animalistic well-being must be catered to first. And this includes indulgence of things that you enjoy, so you are not frustrated, living in frustration of not being able to do the things that you want to do. Who has ever been in, for example, a very clear-cut example of this, who has ever been with a controlling narcissist in a relationship, or even one that's in your family? And you feel guilty for even wanting to go for a walk by yourself. You have to think about the consequences of walking out the door just to go for a walk to get some fresh air. That you live in a codependent, narcissistic prison. This is what we end up creating for ourselves when we deny our desires in life, our animalistic desires in life. When we deny our gratifications, when we deny our ability to make our own choices, to make our own decisions. And we're doing that. Nobody can control us except for unless we let them. Unless we give control to someone, nobody can control us. Nobody can control what we do or what we don't do or what we say or what we don't say unless we allow them to have that control. We have to give control in order for someone to have control. We have to accept the no. I stand corrected before. You're not an occultist, Adius, but rather a person of dharmic discipline, one who is finding himself and being truthful with others. Thank you. I believe so. I think. I mean, I am an occultist, right? I mean, that goes without saying. I am an occultist. So, and another aspect of allowing ourselves to indulge, allowing us to have this aspect to ourselves that helps the mental health aspect, because by helping physically, we are helping mentally, and we're making better choices for ourselves. When we are in a situation, when we are with someone that is denying these urges, denying these desires to do things, denying. I'm not familiar with dharmic discipline, so I'm gonna have to look that up. But it does sound like a compliment, so I do appreciate it. Thank you. Um, so when we are in a situation where somebody begins to not deny these things or begin to make us feel guilty, it's just like what Christianity does. And in Christianity, so if you think about it, in Christianity followed suit like with how marriage is constructed, right? How traditional marriages are constructed with people. So the church tells you what is moral and what is immoral, and you make decisions upon that moral law that is created by the church to control your actions. And so when you think of a traditional marriage, go like if you think of a traditional 1950s marriage, right? At least when we do kind of like the male is the breadwinner, the wife is the homemaker, and then you've got the kids, and the wife does everything at the home and taking care of the kids while dad brings stuff, brings home the bacon, as they say. Any any instance where in this traditional mindset, any instance where the woman would want to go out and maybe try her own business or try to make money herself was frowned upon and was met with resistance, right? And guilt was instilled upon the woman for wanting to go make money, wanting to create her own wealth, right? Because and how was that guilt instilled on the woman? Well, you're going to leave your children alone. There's nobody to take care of your children. You're abandoning your family, even though that money is going to go back into the household 9 times out of 10 to improve the livelihood overall of the family. At the time in the 1950s, it was completely unacceptable. Right? It was completely frowned upon. It's not to say that there weren't women that worked. There were. But once they were married, their place was supposed to be in the home. And the situation was designed to make a woman feel guilty about wanting to produce and make her own wealth while having a family. That was not an acceptable decision to make. And it's just what Christianity does with your entire life. Christianity and Catholicism is they put moral law in a state where when you make a choice that goes against that morality, that thin line concept of morality, it is designed intentionally to make you feel guilty, which is why you go to confession. Now, for many people, I do know many people who said, well, going to confession, my soul. Perhaps, but did you have to feel guilty to begin with? That's the question. Whatever it is that you are confessing to the priest during confession, did you really have to feel guilty about that to begin with? Did it need to be confessed? Why was it immoral? Why was it wrong? Was it a natural response that you saw a beautiful woman walking down the street and you had immediate urges that came into your mind, though you didn't act on them? You didn't pursue, but you had an idea, you had thoughts that came into your men and women alike, right? Does that require a confession? Or maybe does that need a follow through? Try to say hello. Maybe to start a conversation respectfully. Maybe that was the direction that you needed to go. Something was calling to you to connect with that person. But because of the strict moral compass Christianity and Catholicism instilled on people about feeling guilty about their indulgences, feeling guilty about their desires, now they feel the need to go and confess that they had an unclean thought. My mom had to go to confession even when she had nothing to confess. So she made stuff up. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, even if you don't have something that you feel guilty about, you have to make up something to feel guilty about, because then it creates a situation where you have to feel guilty about not feeling guilty because you have nothing to be guilty about, and it's not possible for a pawn human being that isn't part of the church on a official level to not have anything not to be guilty about. So you feel guilty about not being guilty, and then you go confess guilt that you don't even have. Like, what the fuck? Like, really? Like, what the fuck? What the fuck is going on? Like, what's the deal with that? That's insane. That's good. That's good. 1 second, everybody. 1 second. I have somebody ringing my doorbell. Slaves to guilt. Exactly. That is 100% what it is. It is slaves to guilt. Oh, it's just funny. It's just funny. So now, I know the obvious question here, and before we like go into reading this, I need to kind of break through on this one, right? So before, the biggest question is going to be, because we're talking about indulging in desires that we would normally feel guilty for and not feeling guilty for them. And the obvious question that most people are going to ask, well, what about the illegal desires? Well, this goes where I would say you have to identify when you have a problem. When you are personally responsible for your own decisions and your own choices, when you begin to feel a desire for something that you know to be apprehensible, right? 1 second, everyone. I hate being bothered when I'm live. Like, I need to like have like an automatic response thing that says, "Hey, you know, like I'm producing content, I'm doing something, I can't be bothered right now." Like, the amount of disrespect, when it comes to something like that. Salutations, it's 1:37. I shall offer milk. Okay. So the obvious question about indulgence and compulsion is the indulgence or compulsion to commit acts that are essentially illegal, that are harmful to other people, right? And in such, we are all human beings that live in societal restriction. We understand society's laws. We understand that there are certain decisions that are simply unacceptable. And it would be foolish of me to sit here and say that there are not people out there that have desires to do things that are harmful to other people. And it is irresponsible to say that, or to even try to ignore that and not bring it up. If you are someone that has desires to go out and do things that are harmful to yourself or harmful to others, then you yourself understand the overall immorality of that action. Because even in the left-hand path and even in Satanism, there is societal morality that is included in this. I beg to say that I don't know of many faiths that completely erase societal morality for the sake of their doctrine. And we must adhere to being a good human being. Now, understand the difference. I'm not saying that we must adhere to societal morality. Because there are aspects of societal morality that are inherently connected to being a good human being that should not be ignored. And if they are ignored, then you are completely jumping over the bridge of being a good human being and landing in the morality. There are certain aspects of societal morality that are not subjective. Stealing, to me, is somewhat subjective. You're hungry, don't have a place to live, cold, stealing socks, warm clothes, food. I didn't see it happen. Been there. I've been homeless. Been without food. I've been without warmth. I know that feeling. I understand it. I've lived it. And sadly, sometimes there isn't a hand to pick you up. Sometimes the line at the soup kitchen's too long. Sometimes the line at the homeless shelter was too long. Are there things to help? Yeah, but it's a juggling act to try to maintain it, to get the help necessary to get out of the situation that you're in, which is so many people just fall back into it because it's too hard to get out of. So society, morally speaking, would like to say, well, stealing is wrong. This is a situation where I say the intention is extremely important. Is the intent stealing for the sake of stealing itself? Or is it driven by necessity to survive? I don't give a shit what you're stealing. If you're stealing food, that's kind of obvious. If you're stealing a TV, buy food for your entire family. Because stealing food for yourself is easy. Stealing food for other people, not so much. So, if all you got to do is steal a stereo out of a car, hawk it, get a couple $100 to buy groceries for your family. I see the balance. I get it. Killing. What if somebody steals from me? So people will go with whatever is easiest. Could somebody steal from me? Yeah. Am I going to be pissed off about somebody stealing from me? Of course I am. Am I going to pretend that I know that person's situation? No, I'm not. I'm not going to call them a horrible individual because they caused harm upon me in order to feed their family. Maeve, thank you for the $13.99. Canadian. Praise thyself, honor thyself, your brothers and your sisters. You could have done better. Do not feel guilt. Act change. That is true intent. It is reflective of you, your own moral compass. Very well said. I don't think I could have ever said it any better than that. Maeve just summed it up in like one fucking paragraph. All praise Maeve. But yeah, so if somebody stole from me, I would be pissed. I would be upset. I would be angry. I would like to try to get my stuff back. But I'm also not going to try to pretend that I know the person's situation or try to call them, you know, a piece of shit or a horrible person because of an act. Are they a horrible person to me? Yes. Because what they did hurt me. That doesn't make them a general overall horrible person. They made a choice to do something that they felt that they needed to do. Now, thankfully, I'm in a position if somebody stole my phone or my laptop or something like that, I can go and get myself another one. Right? I'm thankfully in that position currently. I haven't always been in that position. I probably won't always be in that position. But it's an understanding. Right? And I think this is something that a lot of people miss when in the emotion of the moment is they pass overall generalized judgment on an individual for doing something without understanding the reasons why they've done it because they want to look at morality as black and white. How many times have we heard it doesn't matter why you did what you did? You did it. Imagine if that same idea for stealing was applied to murder in self-defense or killing in self-defense. Also, guys, here's a quick thing. Apparently, I have to say this. This is not a channel where you're going to hear unaliving. I'm not going to do it. We already have 2 words that I just said dedicated to describing what is unaliving, and I'm not changing it. Just a heads up. PSA over. So, if we applied that same logic that we apply to stealing, it doesn't matter why you stole, you still stole. I figured that would irritate you. So if you apply that same logic to killing in self-defense, it doesn't matter why you killed him, you still killed him. We would have a lot more people on death row. A lot more people serving life in prison that didn't deserve to serve life in prison because they were protecting their themselves, they're protecting their family, they're protecting their property. Right? Do you see how that's a slight double standard inside of society's own laws? Right? People that are drug addicts. That's another one. Doesn't matter why you had the drugs, you still had them. Same double standard. Doesn't matter what you're going through. Instead of giving you the help that you need to get off the things that you're doing and build your life into something better, we're just going to throw you in prison with a bunch of people that are significantly worse than you. And then when you get out, you're just going to fall into the same habit and you're going to go back in. It's not rehabilitation. Right? Programs are limited inside of prisons. The double standard. So, though if somebody steals from me in the moment, to me personally, I'm going to consider that person a piece of shit because they stole from me. I do also understand that that doesn't overall make them a universal piece of shit. Because maybe that laptop they lifted off of me, now their son, their daughter, their mother, their father, their brother, their sister, maybe now they can eat. I could imagine. So we apply this major double standard across the board, unfortunately, with any other law outside of killing, which is kind of funny. And I'm going to be honest, this is the first moment right now that I've actually thought about this. In the United States, at least, not sure about England or other countries, but in the United States, yes, there's an investigation. Yes, you are detained, and then when everything's found out to be 100% yes, it was self-defense, it was a necessary action, or as they say, it was a clean shooting, or it was a clean killing. That's the term that they use. It was a clean kill. Meaning that there was no malice behind it. There was no, premeditation behind it, right? It was a clean kill. You're let go and allowed to live your life. But with everything else, the details of the situation aren't looked at. They don't look at somebody using drugs as why they're using drugs. They're using drugs. They don't look at somebody that's stealing and saying why they're stealing. They just see that they're stealing. And it's sad. It's sad. Because life happens and people are in bad situations. And yeah, it's going to suck if somebody steals from me. Do I want somebody to steal from me? No. No, I don't want somebody to steal from me. Ask me for money. I'll give you a couple $100. All right? Don't steal from me. Ask me for money. Right? If I got it, I'll give it. So, yeah, that's one thing. And now I know most people aren't like that. And I know that there's a high probability if somebody comes to me and says, hey, man, I could use a couple $100. I'm going to say, I'm sorry, I don't have it right now. That's a high probability. That could possibly happen. That's probably going to happen. But I'm not saying that I don't have it because I don't want to give it. I'm saying I don't have it because I actually don't have it. If that's the response I give. Life is not an easy thing to live. There's no instruction manual. And again, this is one of the reasons why in the left-hand path, the understanding of your own power is so important. The understanding that you are where you are because of choices you've made. And if you want to get out of where you're at, you need to understand how to make different choices. And you can use the choices that you've made in the past as a guide to make better choices in the future to put yourself on the path that you want to be on. I was homeless twice. Some fucking reason, didn't learn the first time. Learned the second time. Got myself out of the situation, thankfully. And I had my ups and downs. I got off the street, and then I got into drugs. Then I got off drugs. Started making better choices. Then I got deep in alcohol. And I got out of it. And it's just a constant weighing up and down of what you're going through. Insanity is making the same choice over and over and expecting things to be different. Exactly. That is the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different reaction. Michaela, welcome. Oh. So we need to understand our own power. So when you hear a phrase like become a living God, we're not going down that rabbit hole in this show. But when you hear a phrase like that, it's also knowing the result will be the same and still doing it anyway. Yep, exactly. When you hear a phrase like become a living God, we as the left-hand path, I just want to be a living me. Exactly. Exactly. We do have godlike power over ourselves, over us, individually. What happens up here, right here, and then what you do with that, it's your choice. It's your decision. You have that power. You can say no, or you can say let's go. You can do either one. Exactly. Exactly, two pondering pagans. The living God we are becoming is the God of our lives. We control our path 100%. 100%. That is being a living God, is understanding the godlike ability that you have to control the direction of your life. And that the choices that you make will directly affect where it is that you are and where it is you want to be. Take the choices that you made in the past that had consequences that were unfavorable to you. Learn from those choices and adjust future choices to make sure that the consequences that you receive, consequences that are favorable to you. And forge your path. Forge it. God won't do anything for you that you are capable of doing yourself. Exactly. Now, it's not to say that working in ritual, working in demonology, working in the occult, working with gods, to say that we can't manipulate it, manipulate the energy around us and things like that. Yes, we can. We can make nudges. But if you're perfectly capable of doing it yourself without the assistance of an external entity isn't going to do shit for you that you can't do here for yourself. And if you can't identify the things that you can do for yourself, you need to identify those. You need to identify the choices that you can make. And yes, exactly what Peter just said. Take your power back. A lot of us have lost that. A lot of us felt like we've lost our power in our lives. And we can't make choices. You can. Make it simple starting. Tea or coffee. Milk or cream. Sugar or stevia. White or black. Fast or slow. Early or late. Super simple choices that you have control over. You want to go to bed early and get up early? Do you want to go to bed late and wake up late? Do you want tea in the morning or coffee in the morning? Do you want it with cream or milk? Black. Sugar, no sugar, stevia. Those are choices that you can make every single day, that you do make every single day. So when you make those choices every single day, understand that that is your power. Nobody's making those choices for you. You make those choices. And allow it to build and develop into bigger situations. And here's another thing, everyone. The hardest part of this whole thing. Learn to say no. In the name of the Lord and the Son and the Holy S. What is this? This is Satan and Coffee, a Sunday Black Mass. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is good to see you. God bless and infernal blessings. I hope you're doing well. What's the Holy S? Maybe like, I don't know. Do I believe in Jesus? No, I do not. But to say God bless does not hinder my belief if it makes you feel more comfortable. If it is your belief and if it is what you found to make your life whole and make you feel complete in your life, then I am happy for you and I am proud of you. And it takes nothing away from me to extend a blessing of God to you. Because that to you is what fulfills you. What do I believe? I believe in myself. I believe in my community. I believe in my family. And I believe that there are many things that have been misinterpreted, that have been stolen throughout history. I work with demonic entities, which to you, obviously, I understand that a demon to you is something that is evil. Completely understand that. But I also understand in my research over the last 20 years that a demon is derived from the ancient Greek daemon, which simply means a guiding spirit. And I would not say that I am satanic, no. Satan in and of itself is merely a title. The adversary. That's pretty much it. Now, over time, Satan became an entity, but prior to that, Satan is merely a title that refers to the adversary and was selected as the adversary of God. Neither, unfortunately, because I don't follow sports. But if you want to force me to choose one, I guess I would go with Messi because I like his personality. And again, chat, no necessity for a conflict. I have always said, and I will always maintain, I am sternly against Christianity and Catholicism as an organization, but I believe that meeting aggression with more aggression only creates still more aggression. So, by being able to provide a calm and welcoming environment, there is no need for hate among individuals unless first hate is brought to me. Hopefully that makes sense. And hopefully this is, again, a good example of how to approach such an interaction. Anyway, everyone, that is going to be all the time that we have for today. I thank you all for coming. Paul, you are more than welcome to come and learn and discuss. We have our own resident Christian. At least that's what we call him. Mark V is a wonderful individual. He's an Eastern Orthodox Christian. Wonderful man, wonderful person. Wonderful, in deep conversations I've had with him. And so you are more than welcome to come back and witness the full show and witness what it is that we talk about. I will say that there are things that can be offensive to Christians. If you come into this show, there are things that are going to be inevitably offensive to Christians. It is not intentionally offensive towards you, but you will find it offensive. It is you that has to decide if you are ready to have that conversation and listen to a different side and perspective. If you're not ready for that, it's your choice. Anyway, everyone, again, hail Satan, hail Lilith, hail Lucifer, hail Pyman, hail Baphomet. Always, hail thy fucking self. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace the fuck out. Goodbye.